Thea Audio as a brand actually has many different product series. For example, originally they had the Voyager series, now discontinued. They also have the Legacy series, discontinued as well, the Monarch series, the Oracle series, and let's not forget the Prestige series. And now most recently they have the Hype series, which exclusively employs their Impact Squared technology. What that means is they just have two dynamic drivers acting as woofers in an isobaric configuration. Now for the longest time, I haven't really talked about their Hype series, which consists of the Hype 2, the Hype 4, as well as the Hype 10. And what better way to break my silence than with their most popular model, the Hype 4, which is also probably the only example I know of a middle child getting most of the attention. So let's talk about that. So first of all, what sets apart the Hype series apart from everything else is again the use of their isobaric DD configuration. The Hype 4 in particular is so named because it uses 4 drivers, the isobaric dual DD followed by one mid BA driver as well as one super tweeter BA driver. First, let's talk about the non-audio opinions, which there is really not much to cover, especially if you know of the other Thea Audio products. The unboxing experience is as per usual, the same as the other Thea Audios. You get your IEMs, your cables, your tips, as well as a carrying case. For tips, you have 3 sets of silicone as well as 3 sets of foams. And in terms of cables, well, unfortunately, there is no interchangeable plug. You have to purchase it in either a 3.5mm connection or a 4.4mm connection. And that's really just con number 1, where if you want to change out your plug to something else, well, you just have to change out the entire cable, which means buying a separate cable. The cable itself is fine. It's in a 4-core twisted braid configuration, feels slightly rubbery to the touch, and well, I have nothing great to say about it, but also it's nothing really terrible. The build of the IEM, as with other Thea Audio IEMs, is, well, full resin with the exception of the nozzle, which is metal. That's fine, I guess. Again, I have my reservations about paying so much money for a full resin build or a semi-full resin build, but really that's just my opinion. And that's it. Again, when it comes to a Thea Audio IEM, really when you have seen one, you have seen them all. But now begins the important question. Crin, this is the Hype 4, the most popular of the Hype series Thea Audio IEMs. Does it actually sound good? And as per usual, since we're talking about it on this channel, then it is automatically Critical approved. So let's talk about the reasons why I think it's just so damn good. First, let's talk about the overall tuning. And if we're going to categorize IEMs like the Mega 5 EST, the Dust DSP, as well as the DaVinci as meta IEMs, then I feel like the Hype 4 should also be similarly categorized. The Hype 4 does follow a tilted diffuse field response with a boost in the bass, as well as a slight deviation in the 5 to 6K region. This is similar to how the DaVinci is tuned and overall gives the Hype 4 a bit of a slight V-shaped tilt to its overall sound signature. So if you're looking at the bass and the mids, I would say that the Hype 4 is still one of the best tuned IEMs that you can get at under $500 or even just under $1,000 for that matter. The bass is tastefully done. There's a slight boost, but not going to the point where it's just starting to bleed into the mid-range. And that little bit of extra clarity that the 5 to 6K region brings gives it a little bit more flavor than, let's say, a completely neutral tilted diffuse field response. But here's my biggest issue with the Hype 4's response, and that is with the treble response, because it has quite a lot. So let me just put it out there. If you're someone who thinks that the Mega 5 EST has too much treble, or even the Dusk in its analog configuration, then stay far, far away from the Hype 4. The Hype 4 is an IEM that is kind of made for treble heads. There's a lot of air, there's a lot of sparkle, to the point where it may even come off as sibilant. But to some people, they like that. They like that apparent detail that the Hype 4 kind of shoves into your face every single time. So yes, while you can call the Hype 4 as a meta tuning, you can also very clearly categorize it as a very U-shaped signature. There's a lot of bass, in particular in the sub bass, as well as a lot of the upper treble, which gives it a little bit of a balance on both ends, if you will. And overall, I'll just classify it as a more fun listen compared to something like the Mega 5 EST or even the Dust DSP. When you compare it with something like the DaVinci provides a much more warm and enveloping response, and the Hype 4 provides something that's a bit more cold, a bit more tight, especially in the bass regions, but at the same time also provides a lot more of that sparkle, which you may or may not like. Now, when it comes to the technical performance, this is a bit of a contentious issue. Personally, I feel like the bass is pretty good. It's very tight. there's not a lot of flabbiness going on, especially if compared with something like the KE4, for example. But that said, I would like to give a voice to my very dearest employees at the Hangout, where most of them, I would say probably all of them, would think that the Hype 4 is probably the worst IEM that Theo Audio has created in recent times. Most of them would say that yes, the treble is pretty sharp, but almost all of them would also say that the bass is probably the worst that they've ever heard. Now, clearly, I disagree with all of this, but again, I feel like I should give a voice to my dearest employees, and if you agree with them, well, that's something else that you can consider. So now let's just run back again and talk about the shoulds and the shouldn'ts. Why should you consider a Hype 4 and why you shouldn't? First of all, consider the Hype 4 if you're someone looking for a meta tuning but would like more emphasis on both ends of the spectrum. The Hype 4 provides you a lot of sub bass as well as a lot of treble extension. So if you like that kind of signature, well, the Hype 4 is probably the only choice for you. And on that note, also consider the Hype 4 if you're just someone who's looking for a much more exciting take on the meta signature, aka the tilted diffuse field kind of sound. If you're looking for something that has that purest take on the meta tuning, then well, the Kiwi Ears KE4 will do you just fine. But if you're someone who's interested in something like the isobaric DD configuration or even something that sounds a little bit cleaner, then well, the Hype 4 will be something right up your alley. And of course, don't consider the Hype 4 if you're very sensitive to treble, especially treble that is in the air regions. The Hype 4 is an IEM that boosts up the air frequencies very, very much. And of course, if you're someone who just can't take that, stay far away. The Hype 4 may not also be the tightest bass, especially at its price point. So if you're someone who prioritizes that clean shelf, well, the Hype 4 might not be the one for you. And of course, the more obvious things, the Hype 4 only comes in two separate SKUs for 3.5mm single-ended as well as 4.4 balanced. So if you're someone who prioritizes versatility in its connection, well, you're gonna be kind of SOL here. And that's it. Finally, you know my thoughts on the not so new Theo Audio Hype 4. And as per usual, you don't have to take my word for it. You too can try it out yourself at The Hangout. We're located at 29B Moore Street, level 3 in Don't Listen to Old Chronicle. We have moved. Now we are located at 200 South Bridge Road in Chinatown on the ground floor. So you can come to our new location, grab a cup of coffee or even a cup of ice cream, try it out for yourself, and then form your own opinions. Just want to make this small change clear here, so back to you, Old Chronicle. And of course, for those of you who are not privileged enough to be in Singapore, well, we also have Hangout.audio, our online retail store. We ship globally and for free. Conditions apply. This is Chronicle for Hangout.audio, and remember kids, if it's not on the list, it doesn't exist. See you next week.